ASMR review show. Let's see if I remember how to do this. I know it's been a while since I've been on camera, and that's just because I simply haven't been. I hadn't really felt inspired or knowing what videos I wanted to make, and I was playing lots of Elden Ring Night Rain, so that's where most of my late nights were going, and my time for filming is limited, so I just didn't. But I thought, end of the year is coming up. I usually like to do one pretty big final end of year video, and last year I did my top 100 films, favorite movies of all time. So I thought this year, why don't we do my top 100 favorite albums? It's a list I've probably made many times over the years, and now we're doing the 2025-2026 iteration of it. Few rules before we begin. It will only be one album per artist, because otherwise there would be a lot of bands with a lot of albums in the top bit, and so you wouldn't see much variety. So this is to encourage a little more variety. Live albums are okay if it's my favorite release by the band, because there's some bands where I just love the live album so much that I couldn't possibly ignore it. No compilations though. That felt a little too like cheating. So make of that what you will. And then if the band is like got a main member and then they went solo, and counting those as two separate artists, even though they're kind of similar, you'll see which bands I'm referring to when we get to them. So maybe you might not think those count, but it's my list, so too bad. Anyway, let's not waste any more time. Let's begin. Number 100 is Pink Moon by Nick Drake. It's a very simple yet thoughtful album. It's all just acoustic guitar with, I think, only like a little bit of piano on one song. And Nick Drake's got such a lovely voice and tonality to him. It's just all around a great album. These last couple 100, there were a lot of squeakers, because I did find it a little bit tricky to find 100 albums I legit love front to back, but we can't ignore this one. It's really good. And don't get too hung up on the order of 85 above 86. Just these albums here in general should be indicative of them being good. Let's not get hung up on the list placement. You know, it's just about being here, right? Number 99 is The Seer by Swans. You know, I wish I was at home listening to Swans, am I right? And, you know, this is a pretty good album. Swans is a band I wish I could listen to more, but I find with them it's really music you've got to like sit down and listen to and experience. And their albums are like, especially their most recent ones, are like 2 hours long. So you know, I don't always have time for that. You know, it's not music I can just throw on as part of a playlist. But the one that I have listened to a lot of is The Seer. It's kind of the big one that really brought them back. I know they've been around for a long time and were away for a little while. They came back, and this one caught my attention with its very spooky album artwork. So I really like that. It's long atmospheric songs, very demonic-esque soundscapes, and it's all around real great. I would love to check out Swans a bit more. But yeah, it's just a little tricky about them. You know, not all of that is a genre I vibe with. Right? I think we know kind of what my main style of music is. You'll see when we get to the top of the list. Number 98 is Twin Temple bring you their signature sound, Satanic Doo-Wop. So Twin Temple is a newer band, and it's in the name. They do Satanic Doo-Wop. It's like old school 50s Americana, but it's all about, oh, we love Satan so much, ain't he great? You know, you're a much better kisser than Jesus ever was. And they've got a shtick, and they shtick to it, and I've seen them live, and it's a fun gimmick, and it's just all around a bunch of great, spooky, witchy music indeed. So a very, very fun album. Number 97 is Spider Milk by The Mercury Tree. This is an album I uncovered when being recommended more microtonal music because of a certain band who we all know, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. But they do a different subset of the octaves. I forget what it is exactly, if theirs is like 17 or 18, as opposed to King Gizzard making it 24. But theirs is not 24 even, it's like 24 divided. There's all different ways you can do it. But in either case, it's Spidermilk, Mercury Tree, microtonal, kind of prog metal, definitely some progginess to it. And it's a very fun sound, very dark and spooky. Overall, just another really fun album, very unique. I don't know if these guys have made any more music besides this album, or if there's other bands that have this style, but I should definitely check it out because I really like what I hear. Most of these will be very obvious choices. I don't think I have too many hot takes as to of my favorite bands, which is my favorite album. There might be a few. But next up is 13th Step by A Perfect Circle. It's a band with Maynard James Keenan on vocals, and I think the guitar player from Smashing Pumpkins is James. I don't really know all the members off the top of my head. But what I do know is it's great music. Grungy, dark, a little prog, not too much. Kind of got that early 2000s angsty sound to it that I really love. And great bass tone, just another all-around fun, solid album indeed. Number 95 is No Comfort by Monolord. This is stoner doom metal, getting in your Black Sabbath worship for the day, and I like this album a lot. It's got that doomy sludginess that you would expect, but there's a lot of good guitar harmonies in it. It's not afraid to take its time getting going. Another one that is just pretty awesomely put together. And then number 94 is Ashes Against the Grain by Agalloch, which is kind of that Cascadian black metal type sound, all about being in tune with nature and the forests and the tremolo guitars and the acoustics and the harsh vocals. It's just a sound I really, really love. I can never really get enough of it. It's got to be very particular for me, but when I find something like that I love, I just really love it. I know they've also got the mantle, is it, with the deer on the cover, or the stag. That also is pretty good. Yeah, these guys are great. If you have anything else like Agalloch you recommend to me, I'm sure I'll probably just absolutely eat that up. It's good stuff. And then 93 is Nightmare by Avenged Sevenfold, a band that, of course, I was super into in high school and kind of fell off the map a bit for me. But this is one of those ones I come back to it expecting me to kind of be like, yeah, it was just a phase, and no, not really. It's actually, they've stuck with me, especially Nightmare, because that one has a lot more of that emotional core to it, with it all being about the band processing the death of the Rev. And of course, having Mike Portnoy on drums for that album gives it a big boost. So that is good. I like the sound, I like the style to it. I don't really know if they ever managed to eclipse it. Some people might prefer City of Evil or Self-Titled, but I don't know, those ones felt a little meandering for a bit. This one just felt nice and focused for me, and it's got that emotional core. So while I may prefer some of the songs from City of Evil, this one as an album overall was the sound I was looking for from these guys. So yeah, that is good. And then 92 is Audioslave by Audioslave, of course. Great album, the supergroup of Rage Against the Machine and Soundgarden. And it's just, again, it's a bunch of fun, awesome rock songs with a good sound. I had not really listened to Audioslave until recently, but I was hooked by the sound, the style, the songs. Everything about it is so great. It really managed to fill that space that had been emptied from those grunge bands of the 90s. And what more can you say? I mean, sometimes I find it hard to say what I like about an album. I listened to the album and I liked it because it was good. You know, what can I say? 91 is Ghost in the Machine by The Police. This is one I had a little bit of a tough time figuring out which would be my favorite album by The Police, because I do like most of their albums equally, except for the first half of Synchronicity. You know, that one is not really it, unfortunately. So Ghost in the Machine, I think, is the one that is just the most consistent overall. You know, perhaps between that and Zenyatta Mondatta. But I just like the sound. You know, it's you know, a little digital, a little synthy here and there, but overall pretty consistent. It's got some of my favorite Police songs, like Everything She Does Is Magic and Invisible Sun. It might lose a little bit of steam towards the end. I don't really listen to Darkness or Secret Journey that much. It's definitely a front-loaded album, but overall, probably the most consistent experience from the band that I really like. Number 90 is the album we can't show too much of on screen because of that album cover, but it's Nevermind by Nirvana. This one's probably one of the biggest glow-ups an album has had for me, because I remember trying to get into Nirvana and something about them just didn't really click. People were hyping it up like it was the greatest thing ever, and I thought it was okay. They were trying to tell me that Kurt Cobain was like the greatest guitar player ever, and how he was so good. Okay. And I honestly preferred In Utero more, because it had more of a grungy, dirty sound that I was looking for. But over time, I just kind of noticed, well, most of the songs I listened to are from Nevermind, and a lot of them clicked a lot more for me. Like, it just kind of unlocked. And so then I kind of realized, well, I'm listening to most of the songs from this album. I'm not really listening to much from In Utero, so I guess I can't really say that In Utero is my favorite album by them, because I would listen to it more. And I don't. So I guess it is Nevermind. So yeah, that had a pretty big glow up on me. Looking at it now, maybe I should have put this a bit below Ghost in the Machine, but we're committed to the order now, and again, the order's not so hyper specific. You know, just kind of roll with it. But yeah, it is a good album. I know, pretty predictable choice, but what can I say? I guess the masses were right on that one. So yeah, number 89 is Heavy Metal Music by Newsted, Jason Newsted's solo project that he made in 2013. I just really love this one because it was the best Metallica album I hadn't gotten in like 20-something years, you know? It was just straightforward, good old school sounded thrash metal with that kind of fun 2000s groove to it. I definitely think Newsted picked up a few tricks and techniques from his work with Voivod in the early 2000s. So that is good. Sucks that I didn't get to see him when he was touring with Megadeth, because that week that he was supposed to play, he was sick. And I guess that didn't do too well. It was kind of a bit of a failure, and now he's kind of retired from doing stuff. So that's unfortunate. Well, Jason Newsted, if you're watching this video, I liked what you did, my man. I think you did a good job. I remember this album, even if it's not on streaming for some reason. Then, number 88 is Brothers in Arms by Dire Straits. An album that I just love from front to back. It's just such a great listening experience. And the guitar tone is so crisp and clean, and I love the drums, you know, I'm banging on the bongos, right? Like a chimpanzee. What's the line? I don't remember. But yeah, it's another great album, great sound. I always love when an album can feel like it's got a bit of a journey or like a concept to it, even if it's not strictly a concept album. And so I just love how like the war theme starts slowly becoming more and more present throughout the album until you finally get to that emotional gut punch of the title track. And yeah, just another super well done album indeed. Then number 87 is Spiderland from Slint, which is a 90s, what do you call it, post-rock, post-punk? I don't know what genre to call this one. It's like weird grungy music, kind of proto-Tool with some spoken word passages, and it's really great. It's dark, mysterious, atmospheric. It can be pretty heavy and noisy. It's sometimes pretty slow, quiet, and somber. Just another album that's pretty straight to the point and full of some great spooky tales. So I like this one a lot, indeed. And then 86 is Demanufacture by Fear Factory. These guys watched The Terminator and thought, what if we make a whole career out of this? And they did, and it is awesome, and I love it. It's a bunch of, alt metal 90s industrial thrash with samples from Terminator, and it's great. I saw them live and I got to meet them afterwards, and I told them I prepped for your show by watching all the Terminator movies. Man, it was great, and they thought that was hilarious. They loved it. We were chatting about them, and I figured they'd like that because they always open with the Terminator theme, so it's very much part of their identity. And I love the Terminator movies, so this is a great album for me. What more can I say? Then number 85 is Hunting High and Low by a-ha. Kind of a band that seems to have been delegated to the one-hit wonder status as of late because everyone talks about Take On Me, and that is a really great song. Of course, I love it, but there's so many more great tracks on this album, like the title track and Sun Always Shines on TV, Here I Stand, Face the Rain, Train of Thought. Yeah, there's a lot of great bangers on this album. I was really impressed listening to it from front to back, how well it flowed, and this is kind of the album that makes me want to check out more of these so-called one-hit wonder bands and see, well, does that whole album actually hold up? Is it really a one-hit wonder, or just, not as popular with some of their stuff? So, yeah, that's this album. Definitely recommend checking it out if you liked that song and want some more great 80s synth pop. It is a very fun sound indeed. And then 84 is Wasting Light by the Foo Fighters. Maybe, I don't know if it's a controversial pick, perhaps. Perhaps people might pick, not self-titled, Color in the Shape, or, All But One, Best of You. I know the songs, not the names of the albums, right? No, this album for me was just like, came in at the perfect time in my life, because I was in high school, and everyone was talking about, you gotta listen to the new pop song, man, you gotta listen to the number one song on the radio, isn't it so good? And meanwhile here, Foo Fighters were like, hey, we got an album, we recorded it on cassette tape, and cut it all live, and it was just like, yeah, this is what I needed, man. I needed a straightforward rock album, something to rebel against the popular pop music, by playing the popular rock music, I know. But it is a really great album. Again, I love all the songs on it, front to back. It's just great. I love the sound. Really good. I can't really say that about other Foo Fighters albums. I feel like there's a lot of filler in there, or I really only come back to a certain song or two, not really in it for the whole thing. I don't know why I had a random lemon sour beer in the winter sitting around my fridge. It's not really the season for that, is it now? But I make do with what I got. 83 is Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs by Derek and the Dominoes. You want a double album of Eric Clapton and George Harrison doing some dual guitar battles, and isn't Duane Allman on there? No, it's Duane Allman and Eric Clapton with a song written about George Harrison's wife. Yeah, but besides the title track being one of the best songs ever, both parts of it are great. The whole album is great. It's blues, rock, guitar guitars, 70s rock, the whole thing's great front to back, you know. Not really a song I would cut. You don't always get those double albums that, you know, hold up or justify their length. But this is one of them, I would say. Sure, you could take the best parts and cut it down to one album, but you can really do that with any album. You'd be like, I'd like the album if you just put only the best bits in. Very easy argument to make, right? So yeah, another one that's just really great, front to back. But you heard me, both parts of Layla are good. 82 is Balance by Van Halen. This is their last album with Sammy Hagar from 1995. And now this perhaps is a hot take, that it's my favorite album by them. I mean, the hot take already is that I prefer Sammy Hagar era Van Halen to David Lee Roth Van Halen. Overall, I mean, I still like David Lee Roth Van Halen, but just, I'm not as a fan of some of the styles of the songs. And I feel like the albums are more consistent, specifically this one and 5150, which was also a contender for this list. But yeah, I just love that sound and balance. The whole thing is great. I can listen to it like it's nothing. Whereas I can't really say there's any other Van Halen album I like listening to front to back. Definitely I was more of a greatest hits guys with them. They didn't really have many deep cuts in the David Lee Roth era. So yeah, this would be my pick for favorite Van Halen album. It's Balance. I know, right? 81 is Maggot Brain by Funkadelic. Definitely one of the albums I've listened to the most, because it was kind of like a nighttime meditation routine for me. I would listen to Maggot Brain to zone out, and then the rest of the album would follow, and usually I'd be asleep by that point, right? But if I had Apple Music stats back in the day, this one would definitely be up there. So it starts off with a 10-minute instrumental guitar solo, and then it goes into a whole bunch of fun, funky funk songs, and it's great. I don't know really what spurred them to structure the album like this, but whatever it is, I'm glad they did, because it makes for a hell of an interesting listen. And I also know that there are other people out there that recognize the power of Maggot Brain, because I've seen it used in the movie Love, in Drive-Away Dolls, and that in Alien Earth they directly had a music piece called Procession made that is literally just Maggot Brain, but it's in the key of D, not E. So I knew what Hughes was doing with that song, composer. I knew you wanted your own version of Maggot Brain, didn't you? And I'm okay with that, because that was great. I should probably do a video on Alien Earth. I was planning on it, and then just kind of got sidetracked. Probably from playing Elden Ring, Night Rain, you know. Oops. But I liked the show overall. I wish it would have been wrapped up in one season, but I guess we are getting season 2, so we'll see how that goes, you know. Only thing I don't like about Maggot Brain album is the last song, Wars of Armageddon. I understand the idea of just going all crazy with sound effects, but some of them got a little too far in a few places. Means I can't really put that song on when anyone else is around, if you know what I mean. But overall, the album is a great experience. And then that brings us to number 80, which is Omadon by Mike Oldfield. Mike Oldfield, of course, probably most famously known for the Tubular Bells album, which of course became the theme of The Exorcist. And that's a great album too, front to back, love it. It's easy, it's 2 songs, and they're both great. I love the way they flow between different phases and transitions. It's really revolutionary. And I also really like the album he did in 2014. What was it, Man on the Rocks, which has the song Nuclear, of course, from the Metal Gear Solid 5 trailer. Great song, the whole album. That one's great too. But for me, Omadon, I think that's his second or third album from 1975. this is where it's at for me. I love how it starts out very, like, oh, I don't know how do I say, like, new age mystic. It slowly kind of goes in that more tribally sounding stuff, and then it starts there and it comes back. It's just, I don't know, man, something about the sound of the album is just so magical and inspiring, and there's not much to it. It's two songs that are instrumental, and you got that little song at the end, On Horseback, a little fun little ditty to end it with. I just really like it, and that's why it's on my list. 79 is Selling England by the Pound by Genesis. Now, Genesis is a bit of a band I kind of have a love-hate relationship with. I love this album so much. Just everything about the sound to it is great. The way it's structured and paced is perfect. But then I can't really think of any other Genesis I get into. There's a few songs off of Foxtrot I like. I think my favorite Genesis song is Watcher of the Skies. But then I haven't really gotten into any other Genesis very much. And then I don't really like most of the solo stuff. Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins have a few songs I tolerate here or there, and a few that are legit great. But then there's others I just don't like at all. I'm sorry, man, but In the Air Tonight I think is one of the most overrated songs of all time, if we're being honest. Sorry, Mike Tyson. Hate to disappoint you. But, regardless of all that, when something clicks with me, it does, and Selling England by the Pound definitely did. So, it goes on my list for being just a great 70s prog rock album with just a wonderful sound and theatricalness to it. 78 is Vulgar Display of Power by Pantera. Again, might be another odd choice. I think some people would be hard-pressed to say Cowboys from Hell is their best album, or perhaps Far Beyond Driven. Seems like lately, whenever they do their live shows, they're definitely playing the most off of that album, so maybe it's the fan favorite. But in any case, it's Vulgar Display of Power for me. I just, start to finish, it's a brutal album, in your face, and then it ends you with a tug on the heartstrings with the song Hollow. It's fantastic. What can I say? I think the only part I'm not the biggest fan of is not the song This Love. I always felt the transitions in that one were awkward, because it just fades in a quiet part and fades in a heavy part, or fades out a heavy part and fades in a quiet part. When I saw them do that song live, the way they managed to pull off that transition live, that sounded a lot more clean. That was a cleaner bit to it. But, yeah, it's just a bunch of awesome 90s metal songs. What more can you want? 77 is Misplaced Childhood by Marillion. Another prog album for me that is really great. Concept album. The singer is Fish, but his name is Fish, but he's not Fish from the band Fish, but he's not the nickname for Yes's bass player Chris Squire, the Fish. He is Fish from Marillion. He's a big, tall Scotsman. Anyway, it's an album about growing up and the end of childhood. Misplaced childhood. It's great. I love the sound. I'm always a sucker for when the album flows together as one. And that's what this album does, to the point where they joked that it was one long song. Yeah, it's another really great one. Number 78 is Siren Song for the Counterculture by Rise Against. I always thought I loved Rise Against, and I had heard their stuff Endgame onwards, but I was told that the early stuff was better. And yeah, something about it, I don't know, they're got a pretty similar sound on most albums, but something about the sound for Siren Song, it's got a little more oomph, a little more energy, a little more anger, a little more desperation to it. I don't know, but most of their albums are quite samey, but this is the one that just everything about it clicks, and it's great front to back, and it's got all my favorite songs. I can't really place my finger on. I just know, This Is the One. It's Siren Song. I don't know if that's a popular opinion. Maybe some people would say Suffer and The Witness. I think that was definitely the album that got them to be pretty big and mainstream, perhaps. I don't know, but I know my favorite is this one. That's the one, all right. Number 75. This is where we get to some of them live albums. It's No Sleep Till Hammersmith by Motorhead. Motorhead is a band, of course, where I don't really listen to the full albums that much. It's all about the big hit songs. And they were always a band that benefited from having that live energy. So to me, the best album from them is the one that captured them live at their peak, touring in the early 80s with a lot of songs from the Ace of Spades album. And so, again, I don't know if this counts as cheating to say a live album, but like I was looking at it and I'm like, well, this is the one. It's No Sleep Till Hammersmith, right? It's a great live album. The sound is great. The energy is great. I got lucky enough to see Motorhead live, and they were opening for Megadeth, and they just totally blew the roof down. You know, Megadeth was great, but Motorhead basically showed up. They played 2 songs. They stopped for a minute for them to say, "Well, Motorhead, and we've been rock and roll. Okay, this next song's called Hammer." And then they just kept playing and just didn't stop and just, you know, full on balls to the walls energy, and it was great. So yeah, if this doesn't count, then it's Ace of Spades, of course. But for me, this counts. No Sleep Till Hammersmith, all right. Number 74 is Quadrophenia by The Who. Another one that I don't know if it's an edgy take, because most people would probably say Who's Next or Tommy. And I do like those albums a lot, but Tommy for me always felt like it was it is conceptually better than actually listening to it. Like I appreciate it for being one of the first big rock operas, but listening to the damn thing, I don't know, kind of gets a little tiresome, you know, a little too many 20-second, 30-second songs, you know, to advance the plot. And then Who's Next, I actually, apart from the main songs, and I don't really know it that well, so I definitely can't consider that to be one of my favorite albums by them. But Quadrophenia, that for me was like, no, this is it. This is what I wanted from Tommy. So many great themes, great overtures and instrumentals. It's got a great story to it, and it just hits you with that gut punch at the end of Love Reign Over Me. Yeah, this is the rock opera concept album that I was hoping to get from Tommy. So I've come to appreciate Tommy a little more in recent years. But for me, Quadrophenia is where it's at. Number 73 is American Idiot by Green Day. Green Day, of course, is a very popular punk band that only until recently started having political opinions. Before they did that, they were a politically neutral band that made songs like American Idiot and Jesus of Suburbia that had no context whatsoever to any political opinions, because we don't want politics in our music, right? Yeah, American Idiot, great album, probably one of the last great big rock albums that there ever was, and another one that is just pretty solid front to back. You know, Green Day is a band that I'm not super into. They either make S tier or F tier albums depending on what's going on in their lives. But this one was definitely an S tier one. Just every bit about it is fantastic. I love the way the songs flow together. I like the way that they all transition. The Jesus of Suburbia song is so cool because it's like a big long song, but it's made up of smaller parts. That's just really fun. And yeah, it's pretty damn good. Number 72 is Crack in the Sky by Mastodon. Mastodon is a band that kind of took me quite a while to get into and, you know, figure out exactly what was good about the sound, but when they did click, oh man, did they click real well. And I don't think this is really a controversial take. I think it's probably between either this or Leviathan for best album. But yeah, I love that this one's got a concept to it. It's pretty short, pretty straightforward, and to the point. You know, two sides of short songs ending with a big epic song. That's just the way to do it. It's got a lot of emotion to it, and yeah, I really like it a lot. Don't really think any other Mastodon album has clicked for me as well as this one did. And then number 71 is The Doors, self-titled The Doors. It's actually very interesting because it's a similar feeling I have to when we talked about Nevermind by Nirvana, in that I was always saying that LA Woman was my favorite album by them because I thought it was, and I listened to it a lot, and I loved all the songs, right? But lately I've thought, I don't really listen to it that much, like at all, and I listen to the self-titled album a lot more now, and a lot of those songs that I didn't really dig in the middle, I like a lot more. For me, it used to be an album of, it's got a great beginning, and a great middle, and a great end, but the stuff in between the beginning and the middle and the end is not that great. I don't really feel that way anymore. So I guess it's kind of another thing where I'm just like, wow, turns out I was wrong. It is self-titled. So yeah, Doors self-titled album, pretty explanatory, great bluesy, psychedelic, jam, rock, with, you know, drunken poetry from Jim Morrison. Just another overall fantastic album, indeed. And then number 70 is Sorrow and Extinction by Paul Bearer. They are what's I believe referred to as a funeral doom band. Doomy and heavy and sad and melancholic. And they are great. I think some people really like their second album the most, Foundations of Burden. And I've listened to all the albums and they're all really good, but this is the one that I just come back to the most. The flow of it, the songs, the style, something about it is like, this is the one that clicks and stays. And the other ones I'll listen to and they're good, but they don't really stick. You know, I haven't found that moment yet. But it's a lovely sound. It's doomy and it's heavy and it's grandiose. And it's awesome. And then number 69 is White Light, White Heat by The Velvet Underground. Perhaps another spicy take, because most people would say it's Velvet Underground and Nico, which is another one that I was thinking that doesn't count as two separate artists, right? In my library it's listed as two separate ones, but that's not really two separate artists, is it? But yeah, I like White Light, White Heat because some of the noisy parts on Velvet Underground and Nico just didn't really click for me. But something about the, the abrasive, noisy, jammy parts of White Light, White Heat just really clicked so well. I can't really explain it. It just works, you know. I know then there's self-titled that's also pretty good, but yeah, this is just the one that I come back to the most. What can I say? And then number 68 is Dope Smoker by Sleep. Perhaps this one's also a bit cheating because it's technically one song that sometimes has a bonus track associated with it. Like, sometimes it's got a live version of Antarcticans Thawed or Sonic Titan. Sometimes it's got a Hot Lava Melon on it, but the main thing is that it's the song. Dope Smoker is an hour long, and all jokes aside, it's a great song. It's just long and slow and doomy, and that's just what it's all about. That's what it's supposed to be, man. So, yeah, jokes all aside, it is pretty damn fun. It's a pretty good, heavy sound indeed, but you gotta be in the zone for that one. Definitely one of the most difficult ones for me to rank on the list, that's for sure. And then number 67 is Melancholy and Infinite Sadness by Smashing Pumpkins. Another one that takes like 4 or 5 songs to end. It's got like 4 or 5 slow end of album ballads all in a row at the end, you know. But apart from that, it's pretty consistently good. I think some might say Siamese Dream as their best one. That one I just haven't really listened to as much. I just love the variety, you know, like a good double album is hard to come by, but when you get something where it's just all of the excess, the heaviest, the lightest, the longest, the slowest, the angriest, the loveliest, you know, there's gives you a good mix of everything in there. When you get a really good album like that, that really clicks well for me, and that's what this one does. Then 66 is Funeral by Arcade Fire, another band that was pretty influential for me because The Suburbs came out and I was in high school, and you know, this was the one that I was trying to push over the pop music. And not that the Grammys mean anything, but that year where Suburbs won Best Album, I felt like kind of a little victory. Like, yeah, you know, suck it, Lady Gaga, you know, take that, Adele, take that, Bruno Mars, take that, Katy Perry, right? Because, you know, I disliked most of them. I've come around to Lady Gaga. I almost thought that Born This Way might have made this list. It was pretty close. It was pretty close. As was Crash by Charlie XCX. That almost made the list. So, but yeah, what are we talking about? Funeral, Arcade Fire. Suburbs got me into Arcade Fire. That finally got me into Funeral. And that's another album that I can just throw it on and listen to it like it's nothing. It's got a great sound to it. Perhaps I don't really like what came about from the album because a lot of what I refer to as generic indie pop rock bullshit has come out from that, and most of it I can't really stand because it's like, it's nice in the moment, but it doesn't really leave you a lasting impact, right? It's just kind of there, it's bland. So perhaps we have this one to blame. And perhaps, you know, I've heard that, what's the main guy? He's not a cool person anymore. Like, it turned out he was a secret asshole. So that's not great. Yeah, it's unfortunate. But I still do like this album a lot. And that is good, indeed. You know, it holds up pretty well for me. So I gotta give it a spot on the list. And then 65 is Loveless by My Bloody Valentine. It's a shoegaze album because you've got all these guitar pedals, and so you're just stuck staring at your shoes while you're trying to play because you've got all these effects pedals just to make your guitar sound like a jet engine. But it's also really fun. I think I listened to it at a moment where it really clicked and resonated. Having the song Sometimes in the movie Lost in Translation definitely helped because I remember watching that movie thinking, man, what this movie needs is some My Bloody Valentine. And like a scene later, that song came on. It was like I had willed it into existence, you know. And then I guess, what is it, Jesus and the Mary Chain? Is Kevin Shields involved in that at all? I don't know, but just like Honey, that's a great song, great way to end the movie, you know. I need to add that one to my playlists. But yeah, this album's like hypnotic and atmospheric and really great. I also do really love MBV that got released in 2013. Yeah, these are both really good albums indeed, but yeah, Loveless is where it's at, of course. Number 64 is Turnstiles by Billy Joel. I almost had The Stranger on this list because I do love that album. It was the one that made me fall in love with Billy Joel, and it means a lot to me. But ultimately I decided, well, I think I like Turnstiles as an album more. It's got this really fun kind of a journey to it. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but like, it starts off with Say Goodbye to Hollywood. Like, we're in LA, we're getting out of Hollywood, that's it, we're done, we're going back home. And then I feel like the album is about trying to get back to New York, which I'm pretty sure Billy Joel's from New York, that's why he plays at the Garden all the time. So it's about trying to get West Coast to East Coast. It's about going on a journey. And you know, he's so hyped to get there. You know, he's in a New York state of finally get to New York, and it's in ruins, and eventually we have to leave and abandon it. And then, years in the future of 2017, we're hanging out in Miami, talking about the time that we saw the lights go out on Broadway. So yeah, I just love this, like, concept that I can put together in my head. I don't know if this was intentional or not, but it just works so well. And the music's great, and it's fun, and, you know, you got Prelude, Angry Young Man with that crazy piano bit to it. Yeah, it's just, I can listen to this album like it's nothing. It's just so good. Number 63 is Jar of Flies by Alice in Chains. This is another exception. I thought, can I count an EP as an album? You know, if we're counting albums, it's probably Dirt, of course. But as an EP, you know, is that cheating because it's shorter and can be more concise? I don't know, but I know my favorite thing Alice in Chains has done is Jar of Flies, and most people would probably agree with me on that one. You know, it's just got probably the most dark and hypnotic sound that they had. I always felt that Self-Titled got perhaps a little too into the sludginess. Ironic that it has the song Sludge Factory. But yeah, this is just like the perfect blend of all that. You know, Rotten Apple, Nutshell, I Stay Away. Just only a few songs, but they're all great. So perhaps that's cheating, but it's my list. I can do what I want. Number 62 is Blackwater Park by Opeth. Probably an obvious choice, but it's for a reason, man. Prog death metal with, you know, spooky acoustic passages and that Scandinavian influence to it. It's great. It was definitely the most diverse Opeth record at the time. Good balance of the dark and the heavy. And I don't think they've really ever managed to top this one, man. This is just where it's at for that sound. Opeth is a band I keep trying to get into, but not all of their albums click with me. Perhaps, what is it? Face of Melinda, The Moor. Oh my god, the album escapes me. It's just called Melinda. No, it's not. What is it? Oh my gosh, I feel like such a bad fan, but that one, the one with The Moor and Face of Melinda and Serenity Painted Death, that one's good too, you know. And I like their 70s prog stuff. It's fun too. But Blackwater Park is where it's at. 61 is Seasons in the Abyss by Slayer. Perhaps another hot take, because most would probably say Rain and Blood, and I do like that one, but I feel like some of those songs in the middle, they're just a little too quick and to the point and don't leave as much of an impact, whereas I love every song on Seasons in the Abyss. South of Heaven, also a really good one. Some of those deep cuts on side 2, pretty awesome, you know. But yeah, Slayer is great. You know, classic thrash metal band. Love the sound on this one. I love how they weren't afraid to like speed it up or slow it down. Title track being one of my favorite songs. It was my favorite up until recently when I changed it to be Mandatory Suicide's now my favorite Slayer song. Because I just can't stop listening to it. I'll listen to that song all day. Yeah. But this is my favorite Slayer album, indeed. And then we go from Slayer to number 60 is ABBA. ABBA, the album. I love ABBA. They're great. You know, what they managed to do in like such a short time, basically take over the world, is insane. Like, they were definitely not human. They had to have been alien on some level, I'm sure. But yeah, this album's great because it's just got a wide variety of sounds. I love that it turns into a mini concept album at the end, and it's got long, spacey songs like Eagle, some dark, almost heavy songs like I'm a Marionette, and of course the big hit sing-along single like Take a Chance on Me. So yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful album, and ABBA's one of the best bands ever, and you can't make me say otherwise. And I don't think you're a true respecting metalhead if you do not acknowledge how great ABBA is, okay? It's not just cheesy mom music, alright? Then, number 59 is The Black Parade it's easy to see why I would love this one. It's big, it's theatrical, it takes a lot of inspiration from other bands and albums that I love, throws it together into that pop punk package, but it's still got that grandioseness to it while not feeling too self-indulgent, you know. Just, it's all around banger, and I think most people could agree with me on that. Of course, I do really love Three Cheers for Vengeance, or Three Cheers for Sweet Revenge. Three Cheers is a great album too. I love that sound. But yeah, as an album overall, it's Black Parade. It's fantastic. It was so cool to see them play that whole album live with the big theatrical production. It was just awesome indeed. Number 58 is Empire by Queensrÿche. MS Paint album art aside, this is a great album. Some might have preferred Operation Mindcrime, and I do love that one, especially because it's got a concept to it, right? You'd think I'd love that one more, but I don't know, man. I just love the sound and style of Empire. Something about it feels very proto-Porcupine Tree, in a way. Maybe because it's 90s, I don't know. It does have a mini concept album to it, with the phone call segments in between the songs. But yeah, I don't know. There's something about this one that's just really great. Whereas I feel like I tune out for parts of Mindcrime, mainly the second half. But then it builds it back up with Eyes of a Stranger, of course. I don't know, man. It's just all around another really fantastic album and a great sound to it. Can't ever stop listening to that one. Number 57 is New Bermuda by Deafheaven. Perhaps another hot take, but I do prefer this one to Sunbather. I like the main songs on Sunbather, but it's got a couple of those interludes that I think just go on a little long and don't really add much to my album listening experience. Whereas New Bermuda does not have any of those. There's a couple little moments at the end of a song or two, but for the most part it is all killer, no filler. It's just heavy, thrashy, death metal, black metal, all around a great sound. So, yeah, while some of the songs might not reach the heights of a few of those songs from Sunbather, like Dreamhouse and Sunbather, it's overall a much more consistent album for me. So, yeah, I do like this one as an album more. And then number 56 is Electric Tears by Buckethead. It's just an instrumental album, lots of slow, melancholic songs entirely played on guitar, and it's wonderful. Definitely an album I would throw on all the time while studying or doing homework. It was just like the perfect length of an album to be able to go through all these things without it being too distracting. There's so many great harmonies to it and chord progressions, and it's so layered. Perhaps it's my sign I should check out one of the other 200, 300 something albums that Buckethead has released, but only if it's more like this, not necessarily the crazy insane shredding, which I know he can do, but I want the stuff that hits me in the feels like this album does. Number 55 is Mechanical Animals by Marilyn Manson. It's a tough one for me because I do really love this album a lot, and it meant a lot to me, and I love the sound and the style, that 90s David Bowie, but heavier and industrial, so that's really great. But yeah, the person who made this album, it's a little iffy, because I don't think he's actually been convicted of something officially. It's always been someone presses a charge and then it gets dropped or it gets settled. So maybe they just paid the person hush money. Ooh, it's a tough one, I know. Yeah, I'm almost a little embarrassed to admit that this is one of my favorite albums. I don't know if I'm gonna get judged for that. But I gotta be honest on that. This is an album I really, really love and really appreciate it. So, we'll see, perhaps. But maybe it's a case of just where this is a musician I like who it's more in the limelight, that the bad stuff is happening. Maybe a lot more of these musicians we've talked about, they've done bad things and we just don't know it. And that's the tough worship and standing people, right? It's there's a whole bunch of nuance to that. So for now, I'm gonna say I love this album because it meant a lot to me. It was an important album growing up, and I like the edginess, I like the sound, Ziggy Stardust, but 90s industrial. Yeah, it's a fun album for me indeed. But less said about main people, the better, right? Number 54 is Grace by Jeff Buckley. One and only album from the guy in the band. And yeah, this is one that was definitely a grower on me, because I really only knew the title track because it was in that Machinima Deus Ex Machina from John C.J. Graham, my man. Oh, what a throwback indeed. But yeah, the whole album was actually really great. So many great songs. Guy had such a great voice. There's definitely that emotional weight to it, knowing that he died a few years later in a tragic accident. They just came out with a documentary on him. It's never over. Haven't seen it yet, though. I probably should. I feel like there's a lot of new movies I just haven't gotten around to yet. Unfortunately, my best of the year list is probably going to be pretty sparse, unfortunately. But yeah, this album's great. 90s, alt-rock, rock, blues, bluegrass, jam, harmonica, whatever you want to call it. It's great. That's for sure. Number 53 is, how do you say it? Uman by Slift. We had Slint earlier, now we've got Slift. These guys are a French, kind of heavy, progressive, psychedelic rock metal band, and they are awesome. The album art's great, the sound is great, it's heavy, it's spacey. I saw them live, I was right in front of them playing. It's so good, man. Just love everything they do there. This is technically their second album, I think. And their other one they released, Iliam, was also great. But this is one where it's at. It's just that the sound is so good, and they're heavy and psychedelic. You want anything like that, this is the album for you. That's for sure. 52 is Hiss Spun by Chelsea Wolfe. I had already loved The Abyss so much, and I was hoping she would do another super dark, heavy album, and then she went even further with Hiss Spun, and I do like, of course, the soft side to her music, but when she gets dark and heavy, it is so good. Wasn't the biggest fan of Birth of Violence because it was a little more soft. We kind of got a good balance of that sound with She Reaches Out to She Reaches Out to She. So yeah, Hiss Spun though, definitely the best one. Heavy, dark, evil, creepy. Probably one of the best shows I've seen. Yeah, I'm all about that Chelsea Wolfe. So good. If you were liking some of the dark, spooky stuff Charlie XCX made for the Wuthering Heights soundtrack, then you gotta check out Chelsea Wolfe. Put some respect on that, that's for sure. And 51 is Red by King Crimson. I think it's the other one people love. It's usually between Court of the Crimson King, Discipline, and then this one. And it's this one for me. I love the trilogy of Lark's Tongue, Starless, and Bible Black, and Red. And Red is just the ultimate culmination of all these songs coming together, with the least amount of filler, except for Providence, of course. We don't really talk about that one here. But yeah, it's pretty heavy. Not including Black Sabbath, probably one of the heaviest albums from 1974. And just the tonality and the sound is great, and the complexity of it all. King Crimson is such a weird band that's taken me a while to figure out really what makes them click. But this album has always clicked for me, indeed. Yeah, love that proggy, heavy sound, indeed. Okay, part 2, top 50 time. Number 50 is Beautiful Midnight by Matthew Good Band. They are alt-rock band, that sort of 90s rock style to it, and they're just all around pretty great. It's a great album. I love the style, the tone to it, Matthew Good's singing style, the chord progressions that they use. It's just a pretty awesome album front to back. And again, we talked about Turnstiles having like a great journey. Well, I like that this one's meant to be like an overnight journey. You start off in the late evening, and then you're driving through into the night up until the next morning. That's the style of it. Though I've also found it works as a morning album. It's a pretty good album to put on at sunrise, So it's beautiful noon, not beautiful midnight in a way, but either way, it's a pretty good one. Number 49 is Passenger by Black Monolith. I think a guy who did guitar for Deafheaven. This is a project of his, if I recall correctly. I don't actually know too much about the band themselves, but I just know it was recommended to me based on my love of Deafheaven, who we already talked about, and this album is great. It's heavy, sludgy, thrashy, got some of that black metal tremolo picking to it. It's got samples from Eraserhead and 2001: A Space Odyssey, so of course I'm gonna like it a lot. And yeah, it's just a nice tight package of an album, and I love that style so much. And then number 48 is Earthling by David Bowie. Here is perhaps a bit of a hot take, in that my favorite David Bowie is one of his 90s albums. I know some people aren't super big into 90s Bowie, but for me, 90s Bowie is where it's at, especially this one. I mean, I already talked about how much I love Mechanical Animals era, Marilyn Manson. There's another pretty big 90s artist who we will soon get to. And yeah, so I finally checked out Earthling by David Bowie, and I'm like, oh, this is great. I can listen to this one, and it's just fantastic. And it's electronic, but it's got great beats to it. Yeah, I know many people would probably say like Ziggy Stardust or Heroes or Low. But the Berlin era hasn't really clicked for me yet. And, early glam Bowie is nice, but not like super there for me. For me, it's the 90s Bowie is where it's at, and Earthling's my favorite one. And then number 47 is Come My Fanatics by Electric Wizard. Again, probably not the most popular take. I know Dope Throne is considered the best by them, and I do really love that album, but I find it works better as a collection of songs to listen to rather than a whole album. I kind of find I don't really listen to that album in full as much, because Weird Tales is a great song, but after 15 minutes of the same riff, I kind of switch to something else. But then I like starting at Barbarian, especially since I watched Conan the Barbarian earlier this year. The Wizard. And then there's some songs at the end, like I Witchfinder is decent. But Come My Fanatics, for me, is just like, it's a shorter album, just, a single record, essentially. I think they split it into two, just to spread it out a bit more. But I think you could almost fit it on one record if you really tried hard enough, or three sides at least. And then it just flows really great. It's got a great sludgy sound, and I like that it turns into a mini concept album at the end about the classic Black Sabbath thing of leaving Earth to go to outer space to repopulate another planet. Yeah, so I think it's just all around the most tight, concise of their albums. So I do prefer this one as an album to Dope Throne, but obviously Futuropolis is where it's at. And then 46 is Mesmerize by System of a Down. This is one where I was debating saying, can I count Mesmerize and Hypnotize as like one big album? Because they were like, I call it the separated at birth albums, Kid A and Amnesiac by Radiohead, Load and Reload by Metallica, Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 by Guns N' Roses, and Mesmerized and Hypnotized. But I thought, well, that feels a little bit cheating, because then I could do that for a lot of albums. I could just combine them. So we're going by one album, and it's just Mesmerize. That's my favorite System of a Down record. Some would say maybe Self-Titled or Toxicity, and I do really like those albums, but I feel like I hadn't really fully gotten the sound that I like the most, and I got that sound in Mesmerize. Maybe it's the key that the songs are in. It seems to me like a lot of stuff on the first two albums is in C, and then they moved to doing a lot of stuff in C sharp for these ones. Maybe that's why. I'm not sure. I mean, there's even a song that's in the key of E, Question, which kind of sounds very different for System of a Down. And I love the lyrics and the concepts in the song. Again, if I could count it as one big album, I'd probably place this one higher, but I can't, so we're just looking at what's the first half, Mesmerize, and it's got all my favorite songs by the band. It's just all around just well done and well made. I'm glad these guys finally clicked for me. I think I was a little allergic to System of a Down for a bit because everyone kept making me play Toxicity in Rock Band growing up. It was like Rock Band and Toxicity and Chop Suey and Down with the Sickness by Disturbed. These were the songs everyone wanted to play, and I'm like, I guess they're all right. They're good, but it felt a little overplayed for me. So, but that's okay. I got into them, and I really love them a lot. Now, number 45. This is where we talked about the band and solo artist, if they count as one, because number 45 is Avalanche by Matthew Good. So he was part of Matthew Good band for a while, and then went solo, and then it was just Matthew Good. So that is technically two separate artists. They just happen to have a really similar name and a style. So I don't know if that's cheating, if that counts as two separate artists, or if it counts as one. So make your pick. I guess if we have to pick only one of these two, then Avalanche is the superior one for me. But it's my list. I can do what I want. So make of that what you will. I haven't really looked into it enough. I just see there is Matthew Good band and there is Matthew Good, and I count those as two separate ones. But Avalanche is my favorite of all the bunch because it is just more of what I loved of that style of Matthew Good band, but it's a bit different. It's I don't know, it's a little less rock, a little more alt, a little more melancholic, perhaps, shall we say, a little more political, a little angrier. I don't know how to describe the difference, but I feel like it'd be hard to confuse the two. And so Avalanche is just, every song's a banger, every song's great, so therefore it's a great album. What more can you ask? I love it. Number 44 is Violator by Depeche Mode. Again, another fantastic 90s album. Love that dark edginess to it, that sort of slightly sensual but slightly creepy nature to the songs. They're just all so good. I definitely need to check out more Depeche Mode. I know they probably haven't done as many other albums in this style. I heard this was a bit of a switch up for them when it came out, which is what made it so big and popular. But yeah, this one again, it's just, these are my favorite albums because I feel like every song on the album slaps, and it's just front to back, just nails it. We're getting into the top half of the list where it's just, what do I like about the album? Well, it's pretty great front to back. That's what I like about it. Number 43 is Super Unknown by Soundgarden. Again, another fantastic early 90s album. Soundgarden, definitely one of my favorite bands from the grunge era, because there was a little bit of a focus on the musicality a bit more, perhaps. Like Alice in Chains I liked for being almost metal, and then Soundgarden I like for being, I don't want to say they're prog, but because they're not, but they've got lots of songs and odd tunings or odd time signatures. There's just that extra layer of the complexity to it, and there's a lot of variety. Like Super Unknown feels like it's a double album. It feels like there's the short and the long and the soft and the heavy, and the complex and the simple is all these different styles to the band. That's what I love. Other Soundgarden albums like Bad Motorfinger, they're good, but it feels kind of samey throughout the whole way. I like that this one's just got such a wide variety. You can have something like Limo Wreck and Black Hole Sun on the same album, or Day I Tried to Live and My Wave, or 4th of July and Fresh Tendrils. Just so many great moments to the whole thing, and such a great sound indeed. So yeah, another great one, of course. Number 42 is Absolution by Muse. Perhaps some people would have picked Black Holes and Revelations as their favorite Muse album, and that one is really good. It's just like a couple of songs where it dips a little for me, just not by much. It's very close. I love both those albums, but Absolution just has like the sound to it. It's this feeling of the imminent apocalypse, and I love that. Strangely hypnotic, haunting album cover. Like, I could build a whole story around what's it supposed to be. Is this like the last survivor coming out of the bunker, and the rapture is happening as the bodies are floating above him? I don't know. I also love how Muse managed to make a heavy album without it feeling too forced. I tried listening to some of their newer stuff like Will of the People and Kill or Be Killed, and were so fucking fucked. And it just felt like, I don't want to say try hard, because like Muse has done heavy before. They know how to do that. They've done Absolution, they've done Assassin, they've done Drones and Reapers and Psycho and all that. But something about the production, it just felt like it ruined it, so that the songs weren't as heavy as they should have. It didn't have that same impact. So yeah, for me, this is just the Muse album where it's had great sound and style. You could almost make up a kind of story to go along with it while it not being an outright story, and that's what just makes it so great. And then number 41 is Riot by Paramore. Probably my OG emo album. I've always loved Paramore. They're great. Most of their stuff is pretty great. I do actually really love All We Know Is Falling. I think that's a very underrated album. They don't really pay much attention to it anymore. But Riot is the obvious choice, and it is the best one. It's got such a great sound. It's so awesome. It's a bit of a important album for me, because I remember being told that I wasn't allowed to like it because they've got a girl singer, and you're a guy. And guys don't listen to girl singers, guys listen to guy singers, and girls listen to girl singers. You can't listen to Paramore because it's a girl singing, right? And I was just like, screw that, I have a very fun memory of buying that album on CD at the same time as buying a Death album, and I got really weird looks from the cashier, like, you're buying both these albums for yourself? Yeah. And of course, we'll get to this band a bit later. They're quite high up on the list, obviously. But yeah, so not only did I like it, I liked that by liking it, I was being rebellious to like what society had determined was the norm, just by doing something so simple as listening to a band with a girl singer, right? But I didn't just like it because I had a crush on Hayley Williams. Obviously, I liked it for the guitar and the drums. I liked the live album, like the last Riot, the final Riot. How much energy it had. Everybody has that one. The emo album that got them in the angsty phase at the right time. For a lot of people, it was My Chem or Green Day, and for me, it was Paramore. So yeah, Mom, get the eyeliner, indeed. Then number 40, well, we were talking about my Death shirt, why don't we talk about the other piece of apparel I've got? It's a toque of Peter Hook and the Light from Joy Division, and of course it is Unknown Pleasures by Joy Division, the t-shirt that was so cool they had to go make a whole album out of it, right? Memes aside, I do love that album, of course, a lot. It was another one that took me a while to get into, because I really was so hyper focused on Disorder and She's Lost Control and New Dawn Fades. So I didn't really get into the other songs for a while, but they're all equally good. I love the sound and the style, the post-punk nihilism of the band. It also wasn't until recently that I listened to Closer, is it Closer or Closer? The second Joy Division album, and that was also equally good, almost as good as Unknown Pleasures. I was very surprised. And I saw Peter Hook and The Light perform both of them live in its entirety, and it got a great dark sound to them. It's just so captivating. It was kind of fun to really get it, like, this is why it's such a well-regarded album, you know? But, yeah, unfortunate that there's kind of, it's considered a poser one now, you're only wearing that shirt because you saw the design, it looks cool. Well, I'm wearing the toque, I have a shirt of it, I have a patch of it, and I wear it because it is awesome, and I love it, indeed, so much. Which brings us to 39, Mezzanine by Massive Attack. Again, if I had Apple Music back in the day, this would probably be one of my all-time most listened to albums, because it was another one I would always throw on when studying or reading or just doing anything, because it has such a great flow to it, and it's kind of chill, trip-hop. Not really a genre I listen to much of. I haven't even listened to many other Massive Attack albums, because this one is just so good. But I love the sound on it. Obviously, I thought it was cool to discover where the House MD theme song came from, or that song that Neo was listening to in his apartment in The Matrix. It's fun to see lots of people using Angel as like the spicy song, because I've always felt it had those vibes, so it's fun to see people are on the same wavelength as me. You get it, you understand. Yeah, so another one's just pretty solid from front to back. Pretty great indeed. Number 38 is Terminal Redux by Vector. Very great science fiction thrash metal band, heavily inspired by Death and another band who we'll be seeing later in the list, Voivod, of course. And I just love this guys, the sound that they've had. There was a while where I fell out of love because the band broke up. There was a lot of controversy with the singer, whether or not he was, a secret asshole. And I don't really know fully what's happened from the situation, because for a bit it seemed like he was trying to get the band going with new people, but now some of the old people have rejoined. Like, it's all cool, it's all okay. I don't know. Again, one of those things where I don't really have all the info, and it's a tough call to make. But I know at least 3 out of the 4 guys on this album are pretty cool people, because I've met and hung out with them. I got to hang out with drummer and guitar player Vector before their show. They played the whole album live, front to back, and it's a concept album, and it's science fiction, and it's thrash metal, and it's awesome, and it's heavy. So, what more could you ask for, really? Though I definitely listened to Black Future a lot, because that was the album I listened to while doing physics homework, and that was fun. I was listening to an album that was all science fiction and outer space, and doing physics homework, and it was the perfect length of time in my spare to be able to get my homework done. And then I got to tell the drummer that story, and that was pretty fun too. So, yeah. But then Terminal Redux came out and topped that, because it was just even more, but it had a concept to it. I remember waiting what felt like forever for that album, so the fact that it lived up to the hype, that's pretty great indeed. Number 37, pretty obvious choice, but Songs for the Deaf by Queens of the Stone Age. Yep, I love this one a lot too. Did really, really love Like Clockwork and In Times New Roman, both great albums as well. But let's be real, Songs for the Deaf is where it's at. It's got like this fun concept of like you're taking a drive from, LA, somewhere in California, out in the desert, of course, because it's Queens of the Stone Age, so every album is a concept album about doing drugs in the desert. Um, and I love the radio interludes between the songs. Those are fun. And it's heavy, and they used it in Jak X Combat Racing, which is such a fun game. They recently used it in Alien Earth, which had a killer choice of music. I went and made a giant playlist just purely inspired by music that I think could have fit the Alien Earth vibe. So, yeah, this one just rocks, and it's awesome. Number 36 is The Holy Bible by the Manic Street Preachers. One that I had seen recommended on lots of best albums lists, and I had never really gotten around to listening to it, but a few things had caught my attention. The album cover, that really, really long title track, If White America Told the Truth for One Day, Its World Would Fall Apart. But I didn't really know what to expect. And then one day I just started listening to it, and I focused on the lyrics and the concepts and the story of the band, and it just really, really clicked. Like, these are all really good punk songs, but 90s alternative, but like, they got a lot to say about the current state of the world then in 1994 that is unfortunately still prevalent today. So many great moments. I love the spoken word samples at the beginning of most of the songs. They really set the tone nice for it. I mean, this is a mainstream punk band where they're using samples from 1984 and the Nuremberg trials, right? And like a documentary about Auschwitz. Like, it's pretty dark, man. There's a lot of very dark stuff in this. It's pretty crazy when you actually like read into it. And then knowing that the rhythm guitar player like took all of his money out of his bank account and then just disappeared. Like, they never found out if he had unalived himself or, you know. It's pretty crazy, man. I know that they went on to become a bit more mainstream and straightforward, and I haven't really listened to the stuff after that, though. It hasn't caught my attention as much, but the one song that did come up for me was If You Tolerate This, Then Your Children Will Be Next. Very ironic song in that regard. Which is, of course, not on streaming services. Wow. Telling, you know. But yeah, Holy Bible, great album, front to back, punk music, political, depressing, interesting, just so well done. I believe a good album of mine, my favorites, it's got an emotional connection, and I should be able to like listen to it like it's nothing, you know. I should just be able to throw it on and it's there. That's what these albums are. And number 35 is ironically another album I remember getting into at the same time as the Holy Bible. Around the same year, I remember too, yeah. It's Meliora by Ghost. Ghost, of course, Swedish metal band. Very popular indeed. Definitely gotten a lot of the hate train lately. People throw around terms like Ghost isn't metal, it's just, you know, goth Bon Jovi or spooky ABBA. And to that I say, you make it sound like that's a bad thing. That's awesome, man. ABBA, but metal? I love it. And, you know, people debate, is Ghost metal, right? Because I can actually understand what they're saying. It's not, you know, it's not grindcore. And I don't agree with that because, you know, it's retro throwback metal. It's like classic 70s and 80s, right? The first three Ghost albums are 70s, if Blue Oyster Cult was metal. And then the next three albums were 80s, you know, like very Ozzy Osbourne style, like his stuff. Does that mean Ozzy Osbourne's not metal? The Prince of Darkness isn't metal? I mean, I've heard people try to say Metallica isn't metal. It's kind of in the name. Does it have to be, you know, atonal, obtuse bullcrap to be metal? I don't know, man. I don't like that. I don't want to be a genre purist. But Ghost is metal, okay? Is Sleep Token metal? No, let's not go there. They've got like two songs I like. The Summoning, that's a good one. We're talking about Meliora, though. It's my favorite Ghost album because it was the one that got me into them. It's the most concise writing from the band. It was the last one where they really were more of a full-fledged band than a solo outlet for Toenail Fungus, also known as Tobias Forge, also known as Papa, the whatever he is. And I love the Metropolis album artwork and the concept of, the devil wondering, is, this the right thing to do, right? Very self-reflective. I love that 1930s Germanist expression film style to the whole thing, and all the songs are great. So, yeah, therefore it's my favorite. I don't really think they've managed to come close to topping this one, and they probably won't if they're continuing on with the new 80s sound. But that's okay. They're a pretty fun band indeed. Number 34 is Bat Out of Hell 2, Back into Hell. Love me all three of the Bat Out of Hell Meatloaf albums, but the second one for me has always been my favorite. I just feel it's the best collection and arrangement of songs. 1 and 3 are all pretty solid, but they got a few songs I'm not as into. It's just got a nice flow to it. I love the variety. So many great epic songs. I remember it kind of being another gateway album for me. Just the idea that you could have an 8, 9, 10, 12 minute long song, and it just simply exists. It never bothered me, the lengths to these songs. I remember when I first saw the cover for Bat Out of Hell 1, and it said title track 9 minutes 52 seconds. It was kind of like, wow, how do you make a 10-minute song? That's insane. And then I got into Yes, But then I remember they didn't have the track lengths listed for Bat Out of Hell 2 on the back of the album, so I just simply listened to it, and the song was the length of the song. And then when I had added it to my iPod, I was able to see, that song was 12 minutes? There's no way. I, couldn't believe it until I actually went and, physically watched the clock tick the entire song. So, it was also pretty important in that way, that, songs could be as long as they needed to be, right? And some people complain, where's the vocals? I've listened to the song for 5 seconds, where's the vocals, Especially more prevalent in what they refer to as the ADHD TikTok generation, instant gratification, right? I had this idea that I should just make songs that are 30 seconds long just for the hook that you use in your TikTok audio. Nobody needs all that extra context, right? So, yeah, I love that all these songs were just not afraid to be as long as they needed to be. I love that grandiose theatrical operaticness to them. Some heavy, some dark stuff, some light stuff here and there. Just all around really fun, great collection of songs. That's why I love it. Number 33 is Hounds of Love by Kate Bush. If this entry had been 2 entries ago, I would have ended up with 3 albums in a row that I all got into at the same time, ironically, because I remember it was late 2015, early 2016, because Meliora had just come out, and I was listening to Hounds of Love and Holy Bible. So that had helped threw a wrench into that streak. Oh well. But what I'm saying is yes, I did listen to this album before Stranger Things, and I have been singing its praises for a long time. Not to get too much into the whole I knew it before it was cool, because the album was already cool, it just wasn't as mainstream, right? Kate Bush has always been uncommercial, unmainstream, anti-mainstream pop music, and I love her for that. Especially this album, because again, it has a mini concept album on the second side, with this woman deciding if she should, hold on for life or allow herself to be drowned in the shipwreck that she's in. It's very touching and moving as we see all these phases of her life and this introspection that she's going through. And the first half is also pretty good because you got a collection of fantastic songs, like, of course, the Stranger Things song, Running Up That Hill. At the time of recording this, I've only seen Volume 1, Part 1 of Stranger Things 5, Season 5, Part 1. But, man, they really are trying to get their mileage out of the royalties they paid for that song, didn't they? But, I mean, it's Kate Bush, so who would blame them, right? I'd play that song all the time if I could. So, yeah, It's a really great album in its entirety. It's got a great sound and concept to it. And hey, you know what? If some random show made that one song popular again, I'm okay with that because it deserves to be popular. And now we've got the Wuthering Heights movie coming out next year by everyone's favorite director to hate on, Emerald Fennell, and it's got a soundtrack by Charlie XCX featuring John Cale. And I know from that Chains of Love song that she's been doing her homework because it's a very similar chord progression to the song Hounds of Love by Kate Bush, who wrote the song Wuthering Heights, one of her biggest hits. So, I don't know, man. I know it's not historically accurate or anything, but I feel like we're in good hands for a good vibe here. For number 32, we're now bouncing back to another 90s album that I've listened to since a young age that's been super influential on me, and that's OK Computer by Radiohead. Many people regard this as one of the greatest albums of all time, and it definitely is for me. I think in the past years I would have placed this in almost my top 10, so it has fallen a little bit. Perhaps I've just realized that some other albums that I love deserve a bit more love. Or, I wouldn't say I've fallen out of favor with it. I still love it. Every time I listen to it, I'm reminded, like, oh yeah, all these songs are bangers, and I love that late 90s sound, that, obsession with the alienation of technology and society. I love all that stuff. It's just more, there's so many other albums I've listened to now that have just slightly overtaken it, and I look at what's stuck with me for a longer time, perhaps. So perhaps moving this down to 32 from the top 10 is a bit of a significant jump, but don't let that fool you. It's a pretty obvious pick, and I do like it. I do have a fun memory, though, of buying a poster of the album. And I remember, as I was buying the poster, it was a big poster sale. The guy sort of casually asked me, do you want a poster of a good band while you're at it? I was like, no, that's fine. All the things to bash me for, Radiohead, I know, right? But, oh well, it is what it is. Number 31 is Abbey Road by the Beatles. I did go back and forth between this, Sgt. Pepper, and the White Album, which is my favorite Beatles album. But ultimately I realized, it's Abbey Road. I listen to this one a lot from front to back. It's pretty perfect. I love the sound to it. Sgt. Pepper and the White Album have a lot of great moments, and I actually don't hate the White Album. Some people kind of talk about it being, too much. It would have been better as one, but no, man, I go and I listen to some of those supposed bad songs or the supposed boring songs, and there's just so much composition that goes into a quick little 2-minute song. It's just very impressive indeed. So, but Abbey Road is where it's at. You've got some of their best songs on side one, Come Together, Here Comes the Sun, I Want You, She's So Heavy, Something. I'm just naming the entire album now. And then you got all the fun little medleys on the second side. It's just so out there and random. If this had to be the technical final Beatles album, this was a really great note to end it on, indeed. I love it so much. So definitely I gave this one a pretty big boost for that. And number 30 is Achtung Baby by U2. I think it's a pretty popular pick. Some might pick Joshua Tree, and I do like that album a lot, but I feel like it comes on a little too strong, It's a very front-loaded album, as is the case. I'm pretty sure they asked someone to make the track list, and she basically put them in order of favorite to least favorite. So it's literally it starts with the best song and it only goes downhill from there, right? Whereas Achtung Baby, I think it's just got a really great flow where it starts off pretty good, gets even better in the middle, and then it ends really good too. It's just all around good. And there's something about the sound of this album. It's hard to pin down, but I listen to this album, I see the album cover, the fact that it's called Achtung Baby, which is, of course, Achtung, German for listen or attention. And that combined with the imagery, it reminds me of like the Jason Bourne movies, because in those movies he's going around to a lot of places in Europe for a long time before he's finally able to get to America. And so the style of that, it just seems to fit, even though this is a 90s album and the Bourne movies are very 2000s. And then when I was in Italy and we were on a train from Milan into Switzerland, I listened to this album and it just like fit. Like, this is the image I'd had in my album my whole life, you know, and I finally got to live it. It's hard to explain, but just the sonic soundscapes and the textures. I'm sounding very pretentious, I know, but like that's just how it is for me. Man, I can't really describe it any other way. Every song is great on this album. Every song sounds great, is produced great. It's just awesome. And yeah, you know, I'm ranking a U2 album this high because I've always loved them. It was kind of a shock for me that they were considered like a hated band, because growing up I heard their music on the radio all the time, and then I remember when Vertigo came out, I was just like all about that song. I was obsessed with it. Again, if I had Apple Music back then, that'd be one of my top songs of the decade right there. So I just thought they were awesome and they were great. And then I remember when the whole them putting the album on everybody's phone fiasco came out, everybody was just like freaking out. I didn't get it, man. This is where I realized, wow, a lot of people really hate this band. I don't know. Maybe this is how I feel about Phil Collins. I guess just rubs me the wrong way. I don't know, man. But I love this album, so it's here it is on the list. Number 29 is Fire of Unknown Origin by Blue Oyster Cult. The best Blue Oyster Cult album, the most consistent. It's also secretly the heavy metal soundtrack, because a lot of the songs on this album were written for that movie and then disqualified because they had spoilers in them. So they went with Veteran of the Psychic Wars instead, which is also a great song. These guys really woke up one day and decided to write Burnin' For You, the best song ever. Like, it was basically nothing, you know? How casual of them. Yeah, I love the sound, I love the style. Blue Oyster Cult is, I think it's still fair to call them underrated, because a lot of people would consider them like some generic classic rock one-hit wonder band with Don't Fear the Reaper, and they are so much more than that. It's super influential. So yeah, this album, again, it's great front to back, and I love everything about it, you know, and it's spooky. It's great. Number 28 is Tahoma. I don't think it's meant to be Tacoma, it's Tahoma by Alda. So if you don't know, these guys are a Cascadian black metal band from Washington, and so kind of like Agalloch in that way, you know, it's black metal, it's about nature. And again, this is probably one of the albums I've listened to the most, because it's just such a great sound, perfect for the forest and for the mountains and the trees and the wind and nature. And it's got acoustic guitars and tremolo guitars, and it's brutal and it's heavy, but it's also about nature and just, oh, I love it so much. I was actually in a band that opened for these guys, so it was really weird trying not to fangirl over them, that's for sure. So yeah, I got to like hang out with them for a day. It was awesome. So I'm not just ranking it high because I've met them and they're great. I am ranking it because like this was the album that made the whole black metal genre like click for me. Like, this is what it's all about. I've seen the light. So yeah, this one's great. There was that movie Train Dreams that came out recently, and I loved it. And honestly, the whole album, the whole movie, I was like, I feel like I should do like a Dark Side of the Rainbow thing, like put this album to that movie. This is the soundtrack to that movie. It's so good. Number 27 is Rage Against the Machine by Rage Against the Machine, in the genre of Rage Against the Machine. Rage Against the Machine is, of course, a 90s metal band with some rap influences. They wrote songs about what it's like to be mad at your mother for asking you to take out the trash. And unfortunately, some people misinterpreted it as being political, when obviously these guys had anything to do. But I'm sorry, I couldn't get through that sentence, seriously. Yeah, it's angry, it's in your face, it had something to say, it was relevant then, it's still as relevant now, because nothing changes on New Year's Day, and it's fantastic. Man, I never get tired of this band and their sound. The only problem with this album is it was so good that anything else they've done is just paled in comparison, because they really did knock it out of the park with this one. So yeah, again, front to back, it's all bangers. Number 25 is Defenders of the Faith by Judas Priest. My favorite Judas Priest album, which again I don't think is a wrong pick. Most people would probably say Screaming for Vengeance, maybe British Steel or Sad Wings of Destiny, perhaps. Maybe Painkiller as well. But I think many people consider this one up there, and they should, because it just takes that sort of like liquid metal sonic sound that they had perfected on Screaming for Vengeance and just goes another step further with it. I do love both those albums, but this one just hits a little more for me, you know. Freewheel Burnin', Jawbreaker, Night Comes Down, Love Bites, Some Heads Are Gonna Roll. I just love the sound to this one so much. Just whatever they used to process that guitar sound, I just want to inject it into my veins, man. It's so fun and heavy, and yeah, these guys were truly on something great when they made this album. Absolutely. Number 25 is From Mars to Sirius by Gojira. Gojira is a band where I really had only listened to 2 songs for the longest time, and they were both from this album, Flying Whales and Global Warming. But then one day, man, this album clicked, and it was just all over for me. I was all about this album. So damn good. It's an album that's about whales and environmentalism and leaving the planet to go somewhere else to live. And it's also an album about, like, you know, death metal, heavy breakdowns and riffages and sludge and yelling, whales. So what more could you want, right? Gojira's come pretty close to topping this one. Obviously, Way of All Flesh and Magma are really great albums, but yeah, this is just the one, like, where it's at. I'm really jealous that they're over in France and they're playing almost the whole album now. You wanna come to Canada, play some of that, please? I know you probably think you only need to play your greatest hits, but I'll appreciate it too, man. So yeah, just can't express how much I love this one. And then number 24, we almost put these bands together again. The 2 bands that always seem to wind up together is Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, because they're both heavy metal bands in the early 80s that gave you that very liquid metal twin guitar attack sound with really great vocal performances. But really, other than that, they're quite different in terms of, like, the way they write songs and the matter and topic that they sing about. So it is interesting that they seem to always get lumped together. Right, Judas Priest is just about metal, partying, and being totally straight, dude. Absolutely. And leather. Lots and lots of leather. Oh yeah, leather rebel. Iron Maiden's all about history and war and battles, right? And there's 2 completely different types of people, I think. Yet I'd like to think we can all agree that they're both the best. Well, my favorite Iron Maiden album is number 24, Somewhere in Time. And that's just because I'm into science fiction a lot, and they made an album that was a giant Blade Runner reference with the album artwork, so that gets points. Lots of songs about science fiction, different worlds, and then they just decide to throw a total curveball at you at the end and end it with Alexander the Great, which might have fit better on Power Slave in terms of lyrical content, but musically they do manage to make this one fit with that synth guitar effect. Some people kind of hate that, you know, people very anti-synths. Once you get synthesizers and keyboards in the mix, it's just like, I'm out. But man, you missed out on a good one with this. I feel like it's a bit of an unpopular choice. Most people would say Number of the Beast, maybe Seventh Son, or maybe Peace of Mind, perhaps Power Slave, I think. Generally, the 80s albums seem like they're always competing for best maiden album. You don't really hear people arguing that it's, Brave New World or X Factor, right? But for me, it's Somewhere in Time. Great album front to back, and having a sci-fi setting certainly helps give it points for me. And number 23 is The Raven That Refused to Sing by Steven Wilson. Steven Wilson, of course, main guy from Porcupine Tree, been around for quite a while. He's had many different phases of music, but I feel this was just the most concise one because it's a short album, only 6 songs. They're all ghost stories. They're all very 70s prog throwback, and they're all quite haunting and spooky, and I love it for that. Hand Cannot Erase was a very fun concept album with lots of great moments to it, but I've kind of fallen off after that one. I liked Grace for Drowning, had a pretty good sound, but he's put out 3 albums since then, right? Future Bites, Harmony Codex, and Overture, the masterpiece, the Architect. What is it? It's 2 songs, right? The intermission. I don't remember what it's called. Yeah, and I don't know. It just all felt kind of very samey by the numbers. Hasn't really clicked. So yeah, but Raven That Refused to Sing. Loved it when it came out. I knew it was an instant classic, and it still stuck with me. That's for sure. Number 22 is Made in Japan by Deep Purple. Again, the other live album that we've got on this list. And for the longest time, it was my favorite live album. Why? Because it's all of Deep Purple's best songs played live to their full intensity. What more could you want, right? They take some of the songs, they jam them out longer, they go pretty heavy with them, they have a lot of fun with it. I would have loved to have been at this concert. I'm sure it would have been insane. So I do really like Machine Head as an album. But I feel like Deep Purple, overall, they're not really an albums band. They got a lot of filler, their greatest hits band. So that take all the best songs and put them together into a big live album, well, of course that's going to be a hit. That's what Made in Japan is, just all the best Deep Purple songs, but just full-blown live, play it louder than everything else, right? Number 21 is Lift Your Skinny Fists Like Antennas to Heaven by Godspeed You, Black Emperor, Canadian post-rock band. Again, I feel it's between this and F-sharp, A-sharp Infinity for best album, but this one I think is just the one where they struck gold. It's a double album, 4 songs, they're all 20 minutes long, 1 song per side, a lot of different movements and parts to them, and man, when these guys build up to an intense climax, they really nail it. All right. Just so many great moments to this album. It's a trip. It's a journey that I never get tired of. Don't think they've really ever managed to fully live up to this one, but some of the moments in Yankee UXO have come pretty close, like Rockets Fall on Rocket Falls. So yeah, another great one. It's just so perfect in every way. This is the part where I knew what the top 5 was going to be, but basically everything from here on out did have a fighting chance of making it into the top 10. Because we're getting into the top 20. At number 20 is The Space Ritual Alive by Hawkwind. I told you we had one more live album to get through, and that's this album. Why? Because this is just Hawkwind at their peak. I haven't actually listened to them too much because I've tried Studio Hawkwind and I just can't do it. It's too slow. It's too boring. I was told this is one of the best live albums, and it absolutely is. They just take all these songs, they jam them out long. I love that, proto-heavy metalness to this early 70s album. Lemmy was in the band at this point, so of course the bass guitar sounds great. And it's heavy, it's spacey. There's all these weird, poetry interludes. I think they had, a girl doing topless dancing for them. Not that you know on the album, but you know, it's part of the show. It's psychedelic and fun and just sounds oh so damn good. Again, it's a live album I can listen to like it's nothing, which you can't really say for many live albums. So, again, is it cheating to pick a live album? Perhaps, but like, really, this is the essential Hawkwind experience, the space ritual alive. Number 19 is The Fragile Art of Existence by Control Denied. Again, I don't think it's cheating to consider this a separate band from Death, because while they are both led by Chuck Schuldiner, the idea was to give this album a different sound, and it's got vocals by Tim Amar, who, of course, was not present on any other Death release, so I do think it counts as different. It's not exactly death metal, it's almost got a power metal style to it. And I love that late 90s feel to the whole thing, and the album art is great, and every song is awesome and is a masterpiece. It's just really sad we never got more. I know there was an attempt to make a second album called When Man and Machine Collide, but that never got made, and I don't think we'll ever see any demos from that, unfortunately. So yeah, if you love Death, you gotta give this album a shot. Totally worth it. Just going to be a little bit different in style, but I mean, all the killer riffs and the solos that you could expect are still there. It's just such a fun experiment. Indeed, I love it so much. Really, I was surprised at how much I loved it. Number 18 is In the Absence of Truth by ISIS. ISIS, of course, being the post-metal band from the 2000s. The band that we unfortunately have to always add a disclaimer is not the terrorist organization, because the Egyptian goddess Isis existed long before that group and shall exist long afterwards. But alas, this is the era where we've got to quantify everything with asterisks, right? So, again, maybe not the most popular choice for an ISIS album. Many would pick Oceanic or Panopticon, and I do love those albums. Of course, all their albums are great. They're a band that never made a bad album. That's the trick, make 5 albums and then just call it quits, right? But I really loved when they got into that very similar sound to Tool. Mainly the bass sound and the drums, right? There was a lot of influence there. I know the band had a bit of a negative look back at this album. They didn't like that they were compared to Tool a lot. They didn't like that that's how they ended up sounding. And I think that's why they kind of tried to get away from that and call it quits after Wavering Radiant, which is unfortunate because I think it was like their best sound. I loved it. I loved what they managed to do with it and give that style and Garden of Light, not in rivers but in drops, out of time, out of space. There's so many great songs on this one. So maybe if they were to hear me say that it's their best one, they might slap me in the face, but I think it's their best, so I'm going with that. Yeah, I love this sound on the album so much. Number 17, very, very obvious choice if you're a metalhead, but it's Rust in Peace by Megadeth. Yep, no hot takes here. Everyone agrees that album is awesome, and I agree too. Front to back, straight up thrashy riffs, heaviness, awesomeness, just all around a banger. There's a great article from The Onion. What is it? Like, humanity still producing new art, even though Megadeth's 1991 album Rust in Peace already exists. It's like, you're never gonna top Rust in Peace, man. Just don't even bother. Just don't even bother, man. You can't. Next. Number 16 is Led Zeppelin 4, or Led Zeppelin's 4th untitled album, right? By Led Zeppelin. This is one that I really went back and forth a lot because I think my favorite Led Zeppelin album has changed like 3 or 4 times over the years. I think for a bit I said it was Led Zeppelin 2 because I just liked the conciseness of that, and there were a few songs I didn't dig on Led Zeppelin 4. And then for a bit I think it was Houses of the Holy because I loved the sound they had on that. And then for a bit I said it was Physical Graffiti because I loved the big epic double album nature to that. And now I finally have settled on Led Zeppelin 4. I think this is just the one that flows the best as an album for me, but maybe if I ever come back to this list, we'll give a different answer, who knows. So, either way, it's Led Zeppelin. It's fantastic. I love it. The sound, the style, everything about it really was their best. But, I mean, they've got a lot of great albums, right? Except for Presence, unfortunately. So yeah, Led Zeppelin 4. Pretty obvious choice, I know. Number 15 is the Untitled Album by Sigur Rós. That is just simply 2 brackets. This is probably the biggest drop an album has had for me, because this would have been in my top 5 several years ago, and now we're all the way down at 15. So what happened? Well, I listened to this album a lot, but I haven't really come back to it in a while. There was a little bit where I was burnt out on Sigur Rós, and then they had that whole thing with their drummer may have been, convicted of stuff, but then, he wasn't found, or no, they dropped him, but now he's back. I don't really know what's going on. Sigur Rós is kind of weird. They made a big deal about that 24 hours driving around Iceland thing, and then they just didn't release any music for 10 years, and now they're touring again, so I don't know, it's kind of I'm almost a little worried to find out too much about that. I might find out something I don't want to hear, so I still love Untitled a lot, though. It's an album with no lyrics. It's all wordless and meaningless. It's blah blah blah, gobbledygook. Yet it just speaks to me on such a level. And after half an album of setting up stuff, the second half of the album just knocks it all down with some super dark and heavy and depressing stuff. And I love it. Again, it's one where maybe it might, in my mind, fall out of favor, and then I come back and hear it and oh yeah, that's why this album has meant so much to me. Again, another one I've probably listened to the most out of any other album. Number 14 is The Fragile by 9 Inch Nails. And again, I do sometimes have a thing for a really well done double album, and this indeed is one of those ones. It used to be a bit of a indulgent one for me. I think I would have said Downward Spiral before, but yeah, there was just one day where it clicked, and I was like, I love every song on this, 20-something track double album. I just love the whole flow to it. I wouldn't cut out anything. It would just feel wrong. And it's a very personal album for me in that regard. So, yeah. Again, how many times can you say you love an album because you love it, right? Some people might find it indulgent and, oh, you should have cut this or cut that, but nah, man, the whole thing is great. It doesn't run out of gas for me. It's all part of the experience, and I love it. Number 13 is Close to the Edge by Yes. This is an album that just is got a very easy way to get to the top of my list. What if we only put 3 songs on the album and all 3 of them were prog epics? Oh, that's easy, that's great. Yeah, so this has always been a top album for me. I loved it from the moment I heard it. I was always into Yes, and many people said this was their best album between this or also they have an album called Fragile or the Yes album. But yeah, this one just clicks for me. It's simple. Close to the Edge, best song ever. And You and I, best song ever. Siberian Khatru, the worst song on the album, still one of the best songs ever. It's it's pretty easy maths, right? But it's also a good length, right? It's like what, you got an 18-minute song on side 1, a 10-minute and a 9-minute song on side 2. Boom, perfect. Bands need to go back to the idea of being limited to a single vinyl, because I say this as I just talked about how much I love what would have been a triple vinyl back in the day. But I feel like the CD era led to too much filler for most bands, and now we've got the streaming era where you don't even care about a physical release. You just simply put 37 songs on your album so that it gets more plays and sells more digital copies. You know, Morgan Wallen looking at you, right? Or you release 74 variants of your album, Taylor Swift. So, yeah, bring back single records with 3 songs. I love it. And then number 12 is The Sound of Perseverance by Death. So again, can we say Control Denied is different from Death? I would say so, even though, ironically, my pick for favorite Death album is the Death album that was intended to be the first Control Denied album. And Sound of Perseverance was going to be written as a Control Denied album, but the studio wanted another Death album, so they reworked the songs to be more Death. And yeah, these are the 2 most similar albums to them because Death just had a natural progression over the course of their career. But they were a band that basically got better on every album, which is crazy to think. Not many bands can pull that off, but they did. All right, that's for sure. So yeah, I love how extreme this album is, how proggy and in your face it is. One of the first death metal albums that really clicked for me. There was something about this one when all death metal didn't click. This one was there for me, and it sort of unlocked it all. And yeah, it's pretty freaking awesome indeed. Pretty metal. I was wearing my Death to All shirt in the previous half of the video because I got to see the Death to All tribute band with Steve DiGiorgio and others, Gene Hoglan, play the whole album in its entirety. And oh damn, that was so good, man. Yeah. And number 11, they're finally here on the list. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Petro-Dragonic Apocalypse War, Dawn of Eternal Night, An Annihilation of Planet Earth, and the Beginning of Merciless Destruction. My favorite King Gizzard album. I had a feeling it was going to top Infest the Rat's Nest, and yeah, it did. But again, it was easy. They basically made the album I've been wanting them to make. Another thrash metal album with a big concept to it, but now the songs are super long and proggy with all these different parts like Dragon and Flamethrower and Motor Spirit. Yeah, that's a pretty easy sell for me, man. So of course this one was going almost right to the top of the list. The only reason it's not any higher is because all the other albums exist. I haven't really dug the Phantom Island Flight B741 era as much, but you know, that's okay, man. We've got so many King Gizzard albums, I'm sure I'll find one that I like listening to. That's the trick. So, yeah, easy choice for me for my favorite Giz album. And now here we have it at last, the prestigious top 10. But again, you know, just being on the list in the top 50, I think, is good enough, right? Number 10 is, of course, a band we talked about a lot already, and we hinted at, and that is Voivod. My favorite album by them is Nothing Face. Why? Because it's like if Rush made a metal album. Again, easy sell for me. Love all of Voivod's science fiction, proggy stuff. I love that this one had a fun balance of being not super heavy, but, you know, kind of rock, like a good middle ground. I do like that they've gone pretty full-on thrash lately with, like, Post-Society and The Wake and Synchro Anarchy, of course. But I love the Rush proggy stuff in this one. So it's always been my favorite album, and I don't know if they'll ever top it, but they've had a lot of albums that have come pretty close. So, yeah, it's just an overall fun sound. I love this band so much. Number 9 is Clockwork Angels by Rush. Rush, a band I felt that really saved the best for last, alright, because Clockwork Angels felt like it was the culmination of everything they'd been working towards. You know, it was a little bit of everything they'd done all together into one big last final hurrah. That's what just feels so damn satisfying about it. Obviously, I love Moving Pictures and Power Windows and 2112 and A Farewell to Kings and Hemispheres, but yeah, they never really did a full-on concept album that had a good balance of all the different sounds they'd made over the years. It was a super hyped one for me, and it absolutely delivered on that. Every time I go back and listen to it, I'm reminded of just how amazing it all is. don't think I'll be spending $500 to go see Alex and Geddy though on tour. Oh well. Now, number 8 is a bit of an obvious pick, and that is Master of Puppets by Metallica. Yeah, so that's my favorite album by them, and Justice for All is pretty close, but yeah, it's always been an obvious choice for me. It's just a band that I've always loved, I can always come back to. I love the sound that they had with that one. The writing was the most on point. Would have been really great to have seen what they would have done with Cliff Burton after a few more albums, but as it is, when we got it was pretty awesome. So yeah, very cold, probably the coldest of cold takes on my list. All right. Number 7 is 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence by Dream Theater. Again, another one that I don't think is a popular choice for the band. Almost everybody says Images and Words, maybe Train of Thought, perhaps. Some people say Awake. I don't really, or Metropolis, Scenes from a Memory. But not really many people say this one. Perhaps they think it's too indulgent being a double album, but again, I love this one because it gives me all of the sounds I love from Dream Theater. It also means a lot to me, the topic that it's about, the mental disabilities and the inner turbulence, the 6 degrees, and all of that. It's a very in the feels album for me. I got to see them play a good chunk of the 6 Degrees song live on that one tour, and that just almost nearly broke me seeing that. Glass Prison's my favorite Dream Theater song. I just love the sound and the style on this album. They weren't afraid to just do a whole bunch of different sounds and influences mashed up all together into one. So I just love it so much. Indeed. And then number 6 is Francis the Mute by the Mars Volta. It's an album I've always loved from the moment I heard it, and I just love it even more. I mean, you got a 32-minute song on here, Cassandra Gemini. Really, like, probably objectively one of the best things ever. And so many great, like, quiet interlude moments to, like, allow you to prepare for the next song, but it never feels overly long or self-indulgent. It's just absolutely in your face. These guys cooked so hard with this one. Indeed, I think this is the album that I don't know, this would have been in the 30s or 40s, I think, before, but now it's up to nearly my top 5, so definitely has grown over the years. Now, if we get to the top 5, of course, and there's not going to be much of a shock if you watched my previous video. I had a previous top 5 albums list where I showed my records of that one. I thought about getting all the records I had, but that would be quite a lot, and this video is already pushing over the 2-hour mark, and 2 nights of filming, so yeah, let's keep it nice and simple. If you want to see the records, they're in the other video, but I think my top 5 hasn't changed very much. I may have shifted 1 or 2 around, but it's pretty set in stone. So number 5 is Fear of a Blank Planet by Porcupine Tree. Again, we had Steven Wilson on the list earlier, and he was the main writer for Porcupine Tree, but at this point they were more of a band unit, so I do think this counts as 2 distinct artists, and the sound is different because this was the prog metal era of Porcupine Tree, the early 2000s with In Absentia and Deadwing, my favorite era of the band, of course. And Fear of a Blank Planet was another pretty simple thing. What if it was 6 songs with a good big epic centerpiece, and that's it. That's all you need. And it was a song about, technology and the youth of today being hypnotized by social media, so it was definitely a very prevalent album for me to listen to at that time. And yeah, I've just really loved it ever since. Obviously, I have a thing for progressive metal. What can I say, Number 4 is Hysteria by Def Leppard, because I love Def Leppard. It's the band that made me fall in love with music, and this album is basically a greatest hits album. There's just so many great songs on it, and never gets old for me. Every time I listen to a song from it, I'm reminded of how great the damn thing sounds. And not only do I love the big hits, I love the deep cuts like Excitable and Gods of War. So many great moments to this album, and yeah, again, if I could, I would pick Def Leppard's greatest hits album, Rock of Ages, but that would be cheating because that's the easy way. So we'll just say that the studio album that is a greatest hits album, and that's Hysteria, because of course I love it. Number 3 is Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd. Obviously, I love Dark Side of the Moon, Animals, The Wall, Metal, Atom Heart Mother. All of their albums are great, except for Umaguma. But Wish You Were Here is the one that stuck for me. It's got a great concept and flow to the album. I always love that they started making it like a trend that their albums flowed together as one big long song. And Shine On You Crazy Diamond bookending the album was such a fun choice. And it's also emotional. The tribute to Syd Barrett, their long lost but not forgotten member. I love the guitar work on it. Obviously, it's Dave Gilmour. Yeah, I love the old Pink Floyd albums, but this is the one that's just got that little something extra special for me. Number 2 is Paranoid by Black Sabbath, because obviously it is, of course, the metalhead picks like the most classic metal album of all time as one of his favorite albums. Big shock, I know, right? But it really is. I mean, every song is great. Every song sounds great. It was super influential. I've always loved it growing up from the moment I first heard it. So, of course, it's one of my favorite albums. I mean, it's an obvious choice because it's obvious for me. And don't get me wrong, I love Master of Reality and Sabotage and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath and the Dio Sabbath era and some of the Tony Martin era, like Cross Purposes. But, I mean, don't mess with the original, man. Paranoid is where it's at. R.I.P. Ozzy. I might have to remake my all Black Sabbath albums video, indeed. And of course, number 1 is still the number 1 from last time, and of course it's still number 1. It's always going to be number 1. That's never going to change. It's Lateralis by Tool, because of course I'm a Tool fanboy. I try not to go too hard into analyzing the Fibonacci sequence, but I've always loved this band ever since they clicked for me. And I love prog metal, and I love science fiction, and I love heavy music, and I love angsty music. And this just hits all those notes for me. So it's just perfect from front to back. I love the experience and the journey of it, and I never get tired of it. So, yeah, it's always been number 1 for me. I don't think I ever had a doubt. I think whenever I started making a top albums list, it was just like, oh yeah, that's number 1. You shouldn't have to think too hard about that sort of thing. You should just know in your gut instinct, right? And so I've just always known, well, the top ones were Wish You Were Here, Paranoid, and Lateralis. And then there were a few others that floated around, like Fear of a Blank Planet, and at the time, Untitled by Sigur Rós, and OK Computer, and Master of Puppets, and 6 Degrees. So we always knew what we're going to be close to the top, and it's changed over the years. I've analyzed what I like more. But again, just simply being on the list should be good enough to count. So let's not get too particular about the ratings here and there. Anyway, this has been quite a long journey to make. It was kind of fun to be back in front of the camera. I am reminded of how tricky it can be to film these sorts of things, but, I had a lot of fun doing this. So, yeah, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you very much. Maybe I'll make another one. Maybe not. We'll see. Let me know if you want to see my top 200 songs video. Ooh, that'll be a good one. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed that, and I'll catch you next time. Have a good night.